So I'm at the CRV right now. This is subframe. I just wanted to go over a few things with this to kind of give a visual. There's not many videos on this on the internet, but I wanted to add to the pot. You got to remove this to take the power steering rack out. As you can see, there's bolts here for the subframe you got to remove. On both sides is equal. What I did was I took the lower control arms out. Down here, you got to remove those, undo your tie rod ends, as well as you got to remove your exhaust mid pipe, and if you're all-wheel drive, you got to remove your whatever you call that, your transfer case. You got to remove the transfer case, disconnect it from the drive shaft. This bracket goes to the transfer case. You got to remove that too. And this is the bracket that covers the shifter cable for the automatic transmission. You got to remove that too as well, because it'll get caught up when you drop the subframe out. You must remove the steering column from the rack as well. That has to come out. You got to undo the rear engine mount, and the sway bar as well. Sway bar has to come out. I took that out before dropping the subframe, as well as the lower control arms. On the passenger side, one of the 19mm bolts that you'll have to remove, it'll be the one that's further up, right behind the transmission, like near the axle. Once you lower the subframe, you'll be able to get access to that bolt. And yeah, so when I did take the rack out, I just took this brace off. As 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts. Bam, that comes off. And then you have this bracket here. There's 2 brackets that wrap around that rubber grommet. Take those 2 bolts out, and then you take this driver's side of it and you slide it out this way, because you can get more play or more room coming out that way. You slide it out like this, and then you pull it out that way, and that's how you get this out. It was kind of tricky at first, and I ended up taking that apart to get it out, but you don't have to do that. You pretty much undo all the brackets and stuff and have it where it's got 100% free play, and then once again you slide it to the opposite end, and then you slide it out, because the skinny side will give you enough room to make it out. Now I'm gonna go outside and kind of talk about things too, so you can have that double perspective. This is just with the subframe out and the new rack in. I also got OEM power steering fluid for my rack. I just figured it'd be best to go factory so it can last as long as it can. Also got automatic transmission fluid for the transmission, because you have to drain the fluid when you take that transfer case out. So make sure you have your fluids ready as well. That's if you're all-wheel drive. If you're front-wheel drive, you probably don't have to deal with that, but if you're all-wheel drive, you're gonna have to take that transfer case out. So I'm gonna step outside and give y'all a visual too. All right, so we're outside with the CRV. They're doing construction out here, so it's kind of loud. I'll do my best to, so you can hear me. But I left my upper control arm in. I detached the lower fork from there to give myself room, and as you can see, I dropped the drive shaft and the exhaust. Now when I go to put it in, I'm gonna lower the drive shaft and move it out the way more, because it was kind of difficult how it is with it just sitting there. You got to undo all your power steering hoses. There's this one here, and then you got that one there. That's just about it as far as power steering. And then we got the shifter cable that you got to undo, which is up in there. So you've got that bracket that I was showing you you'll take it off and it'll reveal that. So then you remove the cable from there, and then the transfer case went in there. You must remove that as well, and then you can wiggle the subframe off. You got a bolt here, and then you got a bolt here that you got to remove. Same on both sides, and if you look at the subframe, you can see the holes on there where you got to remove. But I left all my axles in on both sides, left my brakes attached and everything, and just disconnected my lower control arms. Same on this side, I left my upper end, and the lower control arm on this passenger side, you're going to run in the bolt. When you start taking out the bolt, it's going to run into this, so you won't have enough room until it lowers down more for you to be able to get it out the way. That's just what happens with it. For whatever reason, transmission dripping a little bit, but we'll clean her up when I throw it back in there. Yeah, that's pretty much like how you can remove it. I know it's not fully detailed, but it's the best that I can show, and it was just one of the jobs I just had to get in there and start it. I didn't have enough time to really sit down and record, but I'm sitting here talking about it so you guys can have a better reference. You know, this bracket has to come out too, you know. So I hope this helps y'all out a little bit more as far as removing the subframe and doing your rack and pinion. Now I'm going to record more once I install it to kind of help you guys get a visual and go through my steps and, you know, put everything back together and have it clean, nice and tight. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Good evening. I just wanted to do an update video for the rack and pinion. I was able to take it on a very good test drive, probably about 10 hours worth of driving, maybe a little bit more. I just wanted to talk about a few things that, you know, that I didn't get a chance to talk about because I was like putting it together. I was on a time crunch and a lot of shit going on. But I just wanted to kind of give another briefing of what this rack and pinion job is like to do, and just other things to look for that I didn't mention in the video. So yeah, let's start. We're just gonna go to the front of the car and talk about it. So here's the engine bay. It's a little dirty. Got stuck in some mud when I was up north. CRV did not do too well in mud, not with these tires, at least these street tires. Brand new tires on here now. But yeah, the rack and pinion, it's been doing pretty well. The rattling and like heavy clicking has gone away. That was like a major issue. Like it was rattling every time you hit a bump, and then the steering wheel was shaking like crazy. I did mention having to lower the exhaust and the drive shaft. What I ended up doing was completely removing the exhaust because it was just getting in the way. And for the drive shaft, I ended up taking off one of the hangers and then just moving that out the way even more, and that's how I was able to get like nice clearance to be able to really get the room I needed to lift the subframe in there. And I just used the floor jack underneath it. I tried like blocks of wood and stuff, but it's just so wobbly and uneven that it made it pretty difficult to pretty much get it up in there. So once all that was removed, it was pretty much cake putting it back together. I also installed a new high pressure line hose as well. The aftermarket one that doesn't even move, and it's supposed to be there, so I just took the old rubber grommet off and put it on there. It could just be because this engine is the Japanese, the B20B. There we go. This is the JDM one. I don't know if this is the high compression or low compression, but that could be a reason why it doesn't fit proper it's just a USDM power steering hose. But putting everything back is pretty simple. I just set all my lines up onto the actual subframe before lifting it up in the air, so I didn't have to be under there fighting with stuff. I even replaced all the hose too. I don't recall what size, but that hose there, and then the one that comes around here, and the one that it's right there where my finger's pointing at, all these hoses were replaced. I just used the OEM hardware, cleaned up everything, that little, I guess, clamp. Just cleaned up everything, I threw it back together, and I haven't had any leaks or anything. It drives pretty good now. My shaking in the steering wheel has reduced significantly. I do have a slight vibration, but that's because one of my wheels are bent. I got an alignment, and before the long drive, which you should get an alignment when you put new tires on your car, and then when you change your outer tie rods in, and the rack and pinion, anything that's got to do with steering, you should probably get that done after you change your components, which I'll post some pictures of when I was at the shop getting it done. But so far so good. I changed the valve cover on here too recently, so it was leaking. It's not leaking anymore. But yeah, that's just about it. I just wanted to go over this just to kind of add to what the internet says about doing the rack and pinion. You know, feel free to ask questions and comments or message me. It was a pretty simple job. I probably rate it like a solid 6 out of 10. Like, there was no, it's just taking everything apart and then putting it back together, and there's really not a lot of stuff. You know, of course you got to fill your transmission fluid, you got to drain your fluids and stuff like that, but that's kind of like, hey, it is what it is. It's just gonna take a few more steps to get something like this major done. And all in all, it didn't cost me much, maybe a total of $300, and I have new hoses, new power steering hose, high pressure hose, and a new power steering rack, so I don't have to touch any of that stuff for years to come. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And you know, like, it's a more reliable vehicle now because of that. And you know, we're gonna clean up the engine bay and stuff and get it right. Right now she's not that clean, but hey, it is what it is. This car is like meant to be used. It's not gonna be like some pretty, like, you know, oh, I don't want to get it dirty. No, it's just, if I need to go off-road, she going off-road. If I need to do this, it's going to do that, you know. This is strictly like utility vehicle. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this stuff. Oh, let me also, I'm probably going to cut this footage. Let's talk about filling the fluids. When I fill the power steering fluid, I just filled it when the car was cold. Made sure I had enough fluids in here, because when you cut the car on, it's going to suck up all the fluids that it can, and you just want to be ready to keep topping this off. And then once you top it off and it's running, you just want to like turn your steering wheel full lock left and right, full lock left and right a few times, and just like let the bubbles come up from the top of the reservoir, and once it's full, you're good to go. So that's pretty simple. Transmission fluid, pretty simple. I use OEM transmission fluid, which I think I showed in the previous clip. 3 quarts of it, slapped it back in. I only ran across 2 issues. I broke one exhaust bolt, the one with the spring that goes to the cat, and then I lost, or a bolt got stripped out on the transfer case, but shouldn't be that big of a deal. I got 3 out of 4 in there, and they're holding tight, and it's not leaking. So hey, it is what it is. If I need to Healy coil it later on, then we'll do that, but for now, fuck it, we're just gonna run it. And yeah, that's just about it, man. Like, pretty simple job. It took some time, like 2-3 days, with like everything else involved with cleaning it, because it was a bunch of power steering fluid and oils down here previous. So like, I made sure to clean up as much as that I could, and before I threw it back together. But yeah, this is what it is right now. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Reach out, like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna continue posting more stuff. I got more parts to put on this car. I got, you know, things I want to do to it, so I'll continue to post videos about this. So, you know, you guys with other CRVs, or if you don't even have one and you're like, well, what's a good car for me to get? This is a good car to get. So, all right, y'all have a good day.